Hello everyone, it's been a minute since I've posted a video. Out here looking for some hickory chickens, or otherwise known as morel mushrooms. Just want to take a second and kind of make this video, and I've had a lot of people, a lot of people asking about the Dogman photograph that I got on April 28th of last year. I have a little short video about it, but I want to kind of, make an in-depth video about how it all took place, and, kind of just do a better job of explaining and setting up how this experience happened. Now, mind you, we never saw this Dogman. We experienced it. So, April 28th of 2024, myself and Hunter, which at the time was that's my stepdaughter's dad, and we went out turkey hunting on this Forks of the River wildlife management area. Now, we got out there about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and when the sun started to come up further, we got out of the vehicle and we started heading up the trail. So, at this point, it's still dark, yada, 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 and we're still going out this trail, and the sun's starting to come up. And the sun starts to come up a little bit more, we hit the owl call, and sure enough, the owls done their thing. Ooh, ooh. And then, sure enough, we had some toms gobble off in that distance. So we get to going further on in that direction of where those toms were gobbling. And we had pulled it up on a map, and sure enough, in the direction that the gobbles were coming from were these big fields that sit right along the Tennessee River. Now, mind you, this is not any of my research areas or nothing along those lines. This is an area that we just went turkey hunting in. So I hit the trail with him. We was gonna go turkey hunting. That was the first time for me turkey hunting since the spring of the 2020 season. So I had to get out there. I had to kill another turkey. So we're hiking our way back along through this property. We're going through these swamps, and we get to the point where we come across the fields that we had looked at on the map. So we're sitting there, we're looking at the maps, and we're sitting in the field, and we're just trying to pinpoint where these turkeys are going to be at. So we get to the point of where those turkeys were not gobbling. They shut up, and we sat there for probably about another hour. Now, mind you, this was about right at 8 o'clock. I said, you know what, heck with this. I said, we just need to head back to the vehicle and get the heck out of here. Now, mind you, like I said, I did not plan on researching anything that day. I did not have a back trail camera going, so I just I was purely turkey hunting, and I was keeping an open mind that there was going to be some Bigfoot around, because not too far from Baker's Creek, where Scott Carpenter had researched. So we get to this point on the field where there's a shed there, and we can go to that shed, and you can go into the woods right behind that shed. There's a game trail right there. And sure enough, whenever you take the game trail, it led into a creek bed. So we decided to head up the creek bed. Now, we get to going up this creek bed, and sure enough, it was right when we got into the woods. That's when I noticed that there was something following us. I never did say nothing at first because I wanted him to hear it for his validation point. So we're going along. This thing's still keeping pace with us. And I was just sitting there wondering, he's got to be hearing this unless he thinks it's me. So we get to the point of where we have to come up out of this creek bed, because on this map that we had, it showed the trails. And it showed that there was a hiking trail that ran across this point. So we had to pull ourselves up out of this creek bed by a fallen tree. Now, in the photograph, you can see the fallen tree, so mind you, I always say this all the time. I'm a big old boy, I'm 6'6", Hunter was he's about 6'2", 6'3", so we had to pull ourselves up from this fallen tree to get up out of this creek bed. So I was behind Hunter, he was in front of me. He pulled himself up out of the creek bed first, and then I pulled myself up. And it wasn't 20, 30 feet after coming up out of the creek bed, Hunter said, "There's something following us." I said, "Yeah, it's been following us for about 20 minutes. He said, "What is it?" I said, "It's probably a Bigfoot." Well, sure enough, I said, "I'm gonna take some pictures." He said, "All right." So took a picture to the left, took a picture straight in front, took a picture to the right. I said, "All right, let's go." He said, "Are you seriously thinking that's a Bigfoot?" I said, "It was bipedal footsteps, wasn't it?" He said, "Yeah." So we get to the point where we're coming back out, and you know, we never said a word about it after it happened. And we get back to the vehicle, he takes me home and drops me off, and then we get to the point of where I'm looking through the photographs. So I looked through the first photograph, there was nothing, you know, I mean, there was some stuff in there, but it wasn't really nothing that I significantly looked for. I significantly looked for clear images of, you know, the Bigfoot, Dogman, all this other stuff that I catch. I look for the stuff that you can tell and make out, you know, not the, you know, these other images and stuff that I have, which I have a lot of images that I've not shared, not shown. And I don't really share these images because, you know, a lot of people would just say it's nonsense. So we get to the point where I get to that photograph that's in, and I seen it instantly. And when I zoomed in on it, that's when I realized that that was not a Bigfoot, that it was actually a Dogman. So we get to the point that I sent it to him, and he's like, "Dude, what the hell is that?" I said, "That is a Dogman." I said, "And you're lucky that you didn't see it, because if you would have seen it, you would not be hunting anymore." So that's just kind of like a little backstory behind that Dogman. Apparently there's more than one in that photograph. It looks like there's two at least, or maybe more, but you know, I definitely think there was at least two, because when you look at the photograph, he's dead center of this photograph, you know, and then you kind of glance up to the left of him, there's another one. So, and now here's a funny story about this Forks of the River Wildlife Management Area. I had a gentleman named Ray reach out to me about his Sasquatch experience, and he was telling me that his family had owned the property right there next to the Forks of the River, and he had a friend from high school that was out helping his dad out in this area, and there's hanging tree stands, and he wanders away from his dad, and then he gets to the point of finding this cave on this Forks of the River, and he hears something rummaging around through this cave, and he's sitting there, he's waiting for it to come out, and he said what came out of that cave was a gray werewolf. And Ray was telling me, he said, "This photograph that I have shows that there is a population of these Dogmen living on the Forks of the River Wildlife Management Area." So that was pretty cool tidbit. But yeah, I have not been back to the Forks of the River since this incident has occurred. I need to get back there. I know shortly after Brian from Black Mass Paranormal went out there, and he about got shot up while he was out there. So you know, and Brian, he had some experience from out in there. So I'm gonna give a huge shout out to Brian. Y'all go subscribe to Black Mass Paranormal. So the Bigfoot, Dogman, you know, these other creatures are all real. And I always encourage everybody to stay prayed up, keep your heads on a swivel. You know, you're not looking for them, they're hunting for you. So keep that knowledge in the back of your mind. You know, so if you have that feeling that you're being watched, you're being watched. And you know, and I just you know, stay safe when in the woods. You know, it's the woods and the world are a lot bigger than you can ever imagine. So I wanted to just take a second, you know, and kind of reiterate how this encounter happened with the Dogman. You know, I'm going to incorporate the photos and video. Well, the photos, I don't have the video. I don't have a video. I just have photographs. but I'm going to incorporate them into this, and y'all can just check that out, because I mean, this photograph is just remarkable. And you know, and given the context of the experience, you know, sets a ground and a ley line for how big this creature actually is. You know, like I said, I had to reach up and pull myself up out of that creek bed. And that just gives context of how big this creature is. So, Dogman's something you don't play around with, y'all. But I've got more stuff planned. I've got more conferences and stuff coming up. May 3rd, Townsend, Tennessee, Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. Come see me there. And then Myrtle Beast in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's May 9th and 10th. Y'all can find me there as well. So, y'all stay tuned. Got a lot of stuff in the works. Got some new research areas here that I'm going to be checking out and hitting really hard. Actually, this is an area, you know, this is where I grew up. Jacksboro, Tennessee. Got a lot of stuff going on in life, and you know, I'm just focusing on what I need to do. And so the biggest thing, honestly, though, is, you know, my parents, they never did support this. And, you know, now that I'm back here, they support me. And, you know, now, and knowing that now, you know, I've wasted time, you know, that I could have been spending with my parents, you know, and my 3 sisters. And, you know, it's a huge thing for me now. And, you know, the name that I've made for myself in this community, you know, being over a year in this now. And, you know, I'm just so blessed. And, you know, and if you've met me in person, you know how I am. I'm honest, down to earth, and I'll talk to anybody and everybody. So, y'all, I'm gonna walk around in this place some more and see what I can find, and see what I can get attention. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Y'all, I have a new phone number, so if you have an eyewitness testimony that you would like to share, or if you know in an area that has activity, you can shoot me an email, harleyowens18@icloud.com, or call my TCRI number, which is Tennessee Cryptids Research and Investigations number, at 423-465-1420. That is my TCRI number. That is for my investigation purposes. Y'all can call that number, and I can help you out, whether you're dealing with Bigfoot, Dogman, you know, whatever the case may be. I can help you out, get on your property, look around, you know, kind of just figure out what you're dealing with. So I'm gonna wrap this video up, y'all. Thank you all so much for your continued support, and God bless each and every one of you. And as I always say, and you know, my boys from Mysteries Unknown, Josh Smith and Daniel Hamilton, you know, stay prayed up, y'all, and God bless.